Okay. All right, so we're ready to go?
On record.
Thank you. Call the City of Lincoln City City Council meeting to order, August 24th, 2015, 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Don Williams.
Here.
Councilor Norikis.
Here.
Wes Ryan.
Here.
Roger Sprague.
Here.
Susan Walke. Here. And Kip Ward.
Here. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Much. Consent agenda, none. Operations, none. Comments from citizens present on agenda, non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to bring to the council's attention any item not listed on the agenda for public hearing or public comment. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per citizen, and the city recorder will use the light system. Speakers may not yield their times to others, and as a general rule, this is not a time for exchange of questions. At the conclusion of this agenda item, a councilor may discuss or raise questions regarding an item presented by a citizen. The mayor has the authority to reduce the time allowed for comment in accordance with the number of persons present and signed up to speak. First, Alicia Duckworth.
Hi there, and good evening, City Council members. My name is Alicia Duckworth. I'm with Girl Scout Troops 101 4th 3.
Right into the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and you can move it if you need.
All right. I'm here to present to you my Girl Scout Gold Award project. The Girl Scouts of USA Gold Award project is the highest achievement in Girl Scouts, somewhat similar to the Boy Scout Eagle project. I have been in Girl Scouts since kindergarten, and last June, I graduated from high school. Last year, a group of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts met with Ian Keene, the city's open space coordinator, and reviewed several projects. I chose this project out of many because it is unique. It is a unique way to show the community and the environment. My project is to build 2 trailhead informational kiosks for Agnes Creek Open Space, one each in the north and south trailheads located in the parking lots. Please see the handout that I gave you guys. The picture is similar to what I will be building, though there will not be a register box included. I have partnered with the City of Lincoln City. They are going to purchase the materials, and I will be getting a work party set up to build no later than September 13th, 2015. My project has already been reviewed with the City's Parks and Recreation Board last week. Plans are in review with Stephanie, the city coordinator, the city engineer. We will be meeting with Kevin, the city's ADA coordinator, this week to discuss and plan the ADA's accessibilities. Thank you.
Well done.
Any questions?
Well, we just had this drop in front of us, so I didn't get a chance to really look at it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
As an Eagle Scout, I applaud you. It is one of the benefits of your getting to that level of achievement in scouting that will carry you through your entire life. Trust me, I never thought that would be true, but it is something to be proud of, to celebrate. I congratulate you on a wonderful-looking project, and certainly I think you have gone about going through the various people to get to the proper permits and so on very well, and I applaud you, and I look forward to seeing the finished product.
Thank you.
You're here.
I think that deserves a hand.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Look forward to seeing it in action.
Thank you.
You keep us apprised.
Good job.
Bill Magnan. Either side's fine. Uh-huh. Got to stay close to it.
Need to sit it so you're closer to it.
What's that?
Need to sit so you're closer to it.
Oh.
There's a chair behind there.
My voice will carry.
It may not be picked up on the mic, which is a problem. That's for the recording purposes.
All right.
Thank you.
Members of the City Council, I'm bringing to your attention this special order of business number 8, which is allowing medical marijuana dispensaries to conduct early start recreational marijuana sales to the general public. When I saw this agenda item, my heart sank because it shows this continuous trend of opening up the floodgates to more drug use in this city. Now, people made great arguments in regards to marijuana use for medical marijuana because there are people with back injuries or people that have trauma or whatever. But what argument are we making now? Why are we doing this? And people say, well, it's been made legal. Well, we have seen just how responsible full-grown adults are and children with alcohol. For the life of me, I do not understand why we would open up the floodgates to even more marijuana use, and what kind of message this sends to the high school students, what message this sends to the youth. God, have mercy on this city, please. It's not right. Stop the insanity. This is not, and as I said, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good for the community. Don't we have some kind of community standards here in which we actually are going to raise our children in a safe environment? When you've got someone who's under the influence of marijuana and they're driving down the street and they plow into a family, and we get to parade those families in here and say, why did you make this more available? Will you be able to deal with that? Because that's the reality of it. We can theorize, we can, come up with great ideas about why it's everybody's right. But what about the rights of families to be protected? What about the rights of future generations? Because we're building a foundation right now. We are building an incredibly shaky foundation for this wonderful city. I am a fairly new resident, and I'm shocked. I'm just shocked how quickly this has been just expanded. And many of us, I'm a pastor of a church, and so I deal with people with alcohol and drug issues. I see how it destroys families. I visit guys in jail cells. And the reality is we need a wake-up call for this city that marijuana is a plight. It's a plague. It's a blight on our families. And as I said, we're not responsible with alcohol as it is. Why open up the floodgates? And so my heart is broken. It's broken because we don't have enough common sense to realize that families need to be protected from this kind of thing. That we really don't care. And I hate to think that way. I like to think of all of you as caring people. You care about families. You care about little kids. You care about the future generations. And so my heart is just, please, for the sake of the kids, for the sake of future generations, rethink this whole marijuana thing. Because it's just not right.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. M. Hoover.
Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm Jim Hoover, 3150 East Devils Lake Road. I'm a little late to the game this evening, and I was kind of surprised when I pulled up the agenda and saw that you have a first and second reading on an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, General Provisions, Ordinance Enforcement, and Civil Infractions. I really quickly went to the packet, and in the packet I see that the staff recommends the council conduct and approve a first reading of the proposed ordinance, not a first and second reading. Given the fact that this apparently has something to do with the request by a private citizen this week of a form on how he files a citation, because I can't find anything else in here really that I can understand in your packet, it seems to me like the public should have an opportunity to hear what this is about and then have time to comment to their elected officials from each ward and to the mayor. so that you can make a decision based on the people that you represent. So I would encourage you to not have a first and second reading on ordinance number 2015-10, but just have a first reading and allow people the opportunity to participate in the democratic process by conferring with their elected leaders after they've had the chance to hear what they're discussing and what their views are, both positive and negative, on the ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Anyone else who didn't sign up to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on. We are at ordinance, is that right? Public hearings, public comment, none. Okay. Where do we go? Ordinance 2015-09, second reading and adoption, an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan map to change the Comprehensive Plan map designation from the high-density residential RM and single-family residential district R5 to the vacation rental district VR, and amending the zoning map to change the zoning map designation from the multiple-family residential RM zone and single-family residential R15 to the vacation rental zone VR for approximately 7 acres of land east of Southwest Coast Avenue and south of South Bard Road. And as has been our custom here, I will be recusing myself as I have an actual conflict of interest in this, and turn the time over to Council President Sprague.
Mr. City Attorney, do we just go ahead with discussion, or?
I'll conduct this.
All right.
This is the second reading of ordinance 2015-09, an ordinance amending city comprehensive plan map to comprehensive plan map designation.
Your mic is breaking up.
This is the second reading of ordinance 2015-09, entitled, "An Ordinance Amending the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan Map to Change the Comprehensive Plan Map Designation from the High-Density Residential RM and Single-Family Residential R5 District to the Vacation Rental VR District, and amending the zone map to change the zoning designation from the multiple-family residential RM zone and single-family residential R15 zone to the Vacation Rental VR zone for approximately 7 acres of land east of Southwest Coast Avenue and south of Southwest Bard Road." There's only one change, and that would be to change the signature line from the mayor to the council president, and would ask for approval of second reading and adoption of ordinance 2015-09.
For a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Ryan? Sprague?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Williams? And Norikis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, we have $10,000 in our budget to make our mics work. I'd like to see us spend that money, and we've been going through this now way all too long.
I thought we had a minor miracle that it would.
Play on that microphone, suppression delay. Maybe the only problem on that one, because I noticed he would talk, when he stopped talking, to come back on, threshold on him. It may not be what that issue is, but that would be the first thing to check. It may be a very...
I think that's doing that with your mic right now. Yeah?
Well, then forget it. Buy new mics.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about their setup. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Council President Sprague. Okay, ordinance 2015-10, first and second ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code Title I General Provisions, Chapter 1.20, Ordinance Enforcement, and Chapter 1.16, Fractions.
Motion?
I'll conduct the first reading, and as was stated during public comment, the ordinance is on for first reading, and And then the recommendation is that second reading be set September 14th, authorize receipt of written comments until noon on September 9th. I'll read the title and then I'll give you.
Sorry, am I? Sorry.
Okay, this is the first reading of ordinance 2015-10, an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, Title I, General Provisions, Chapter 1.16, Civil Infractions, and Chapter 1.20, Ordinance Enforcement, to consolidate and update code enforcement chapters and make changes consistent with LCMC Chapter 9.04, amending violation classifications to be consistent with state law, amending Chapter 1.04 to change the default violation from Class A to Class B, amending the code to change civil infraction to violation consistent with current terminology. We'd be looking for a motion to approve first reading and second reading for September 14th with receipt of written comments through, I think I said September 9th.
So move.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, with council's approval, I'd like to read the background on this council communication for the benefit of the listening public. Hearing no objections. In 2014, the City Council started the process of updating code enforcement provisions of the code with the adoption of ordinances 2014-01 and 2014-03. These ordinances adopted current state criminal law procedures and made them applicable municipal court ordinance to municipal court. Ordinance 2014-01 also included the adoption of Oregon Revised Statutes Chapter 153 violation provisions and applied them to all violations within the jurisdiction of the municipal court. This ORS chapter was substantially rewritten in 1999. City code provisions concerning violations date to 1983 and 1987. This amendment conforms the code and removes dated, inconsistent provisions. Classifications are made consistent with state law. However, 2 additional classifications are added. All Class A violations are amended to be Class B until such time as council desires to reclassify offenses. As noted, additional work will be necessary, e.g., council will need to apply classification of offenses and will be brought forward in some subsequent ordinances. Thank you.
Discussion stage, any further discussion? I'm sure this is all good. It's a lot to take in. I haven't had a ton of time. I welcome the extra week to look at or it's 2 weeks. We're going to have just a written comment period, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It have on the line. Repetition of some language. 9D says the municipal court is bound by the minimum fine provisions of ORS 153, and then I think there's some extra language.
Yes, I will remove that and I'll change at the second reading.
Further discussion? Get a roll call on this or no? In favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
You need a roll call.
Oh,
for
it's
an
ordinance.
That's right, I thought you said no.
Sprague,
Yes.
Walke, Ward,
Yes.
Williams, Norikis,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
resolutions. Resolution 2015-24, a resolution declaring Exhibit A surplus property, providing for exemption from Lincoln City Municipal Code, Chapter 2.05, Public Contracts, Competitive Bid Procedures, and approving disposal.
I would move that we accept resolution number 2015-24.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Bulky. Ward.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Norikis.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Sprague.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Special order of business, we were asked to strike tractor purchase of the bucket truck.
That is correct.
Following it home, we're equipment purchase of the bucket truck. Potential donation of property, Northeast Union Avenue.
This is coming back to you for the second time. You had asked us to look at whether or not this property would be suitable for a pocket park. We looked at that. Under its current layout, it really is difficult to make that work as a pocket park because it has poor access to the streets. As a matter of fact, it has no access to the street except through an undeveloped right-of-way. It really right now is mostly being used as almost somewhat of a backyard where we saw a little bit of access that was being used to get to some of the back properties. The best use that really is on this property is as a building lot. And then with the improvement of the drive approach to bring it to the lot. We did estimate that the cost to bring the road and the water line would be just over $25,000 to do that. Sewer, of course, is running through the property. This does not include the cost of bringing any power or gas to the property. As I mentioned right now, the approach, the easement is not developed other than it's just been driven on, and so it's just got some drive paths through where the vehicles have gone in. So the Cogill family is hoping that you'll be able to make a decision. As I mentioned, the poor access to a road makes it difficult to be as a pocket park, and its really best use is as a building lot if you so wanted to acquire it.
Well,
Mr. Mayor,
sir.
I appreciate the donor wanting to donate property to the city, but I think in this case that we are probably buying something that's going to be more expensive than we'll be able to handle, and I recommend that we don't buy it or we don't accept it.
So, Ryan, you were discussing the idea of this being a pocket park. Did that change your mind now?
Well, you know, if it's a lot that you can build on, then I think it's a lot you can still make a pocket park on, you know. I kind of disagree in that respect. I mean, if it's a buildable lot, then it certainly would be, you know, it's a matter of, do we want to spend the money to improve the right-of-way to make it a pocket park? And, you know, that's not a decision that I can make. I just think that it would have been a good little pocket park. However, the thought occurred to me that if we are, if it is a buildable lot, perhaps this would be a piece of land, if we're going to acquire it, to give to deed off to, or whatever, to Habitat for Humanity, or whatever that other one is, that are building homes. If it's a buildable lot, then certainly that might be something that they might be interested in.
Land Trust looked at it and turned it down.
Oh, they did?
Yep.
Okay.
And the problem is that it lacked the utilities and the drive approach to it.
Right. Okay.
Have we created a landlocked property there?
No, because it has an easement. It has an easement for traffic to get back to it.
Right.
The easement would have to be expanded to add utilities if we were to acquire it. But it does have an easement, so a vehicle can get back to it.
Yes.
What's the value of the lot once it has the improvements?
Well, the assessor valued the lot at $35,500 with this, and then, of course, you're looking at the improvements of about $25,000 plus the cost of bringing electric and gas into it. And so I don't know if those actually add up to what the total value would be, or if it would be more or less than that, based on the market.
Does it have an ocean view?
No, it does not.
And
Oh, and how much taxes were paid?
only a couple $100.
Yeah, I don't see that on my notes, but it was not a lot, if I...
So the holding costs are a couple $100.
Yes.
Well, we might be able to trade it for something else down the road, too. One born every day, I mean, you know.
Responsibility to that lot as a city. We just accept it as is.
We would have to maintain it, which means at this point it's keeping the weeds and the vegetation
And thoughts on that?
down. There would be a cost associated, yes, that would add to the properties that we maintain. And so how often you have to do that, I'm not sure how often it would have to be cut down.
Any further discussion on that? Well, I guess I'm looking for a motion to, I don't know what I'm looking for a motion for. What is your, looking for a motion to,
I make a motion.
The offer to do
I make a motion to accept that and put it in our inventory, and the holding costs are not high, so that's what I would do.
Second it.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? I would say I'm just in favor of picking up another piece of property that we are just going to have to maintain yet again. I understand it's a low cost, but I think in the current climate, we don't need to be taking on any more property. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Williams?
No.
Norikis?
No.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sprague?
No.
Walke?
No.
And Ward?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay. So then, I guess, does it die there, or do we need a motion to not accept it? Do anything if we don't want it, right?
That's correct.
It's done, okay. But we
Mr.
do-
Mayor, on this next item, I plan to recuse myself because I am one of the presenters.
Did want to thank the family for offering it, and it wasn't for lack of generosity. But we thank
Here, here.
And thank you, Councilor Ryan. And pull this up.
Mayor Williams?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chandler, I'm getting messages that you're too close to your mic and they can't understand anything that you say.
I'm too close.
Me also, or just,
And the rest of them, the messages that I'm getting from the public are that Susan, they couldn't hear anything that you said at all. And if you'll excuse me for a moment, I think I'll go try to get a lapel mic for the city attorney.
okay, so at some point, we're going to have a motion to take care of this later, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And please feel free to let us know if you cannot hear us at home. Continue to let us know, please. Okay, we are at employment agreement, municipal court judge. No.
No.
Potential donation. No, where am I at? There we go. Potential donation of property. I'm sorry, Northeast Union Avenue. No, we just did that. Thank you.
Item 6.
Thank you. Request to deed the Northeast 25th Street right-of-way to the Episcopal Parish of St. James. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Wes Ryan, and I am, among other things, the senior warden of the parish of St. James, the Episcopal Parish of St. James. The senior warden is essentially the chairman of the board, and with me is John Skipper, who is also on that board and was the lead person on working on this project. This project came about because we were trying to do something to our sign, which is the bottom of the hill, And since it's not on our, quote, property, ODOT has sway on that, and trust me, it has become quite a game between ODOT and the city, and is all we want to do is get a better sign. You should have been able to read and look at the information in these packets that was in your packet. Essentially, what it is the extension of 25th. It goes up the hill to the St. James Santiago's Church and School. At some point or another, the church owned that, but they donated it to the city, or deeded it over to the city. We don't know why, we don't know when. Well, we know when, but we don't know why that was done. I've been there, been going to that church for over 20 years, and we have not, I've not seen a city vehicle plow, scrape, or do anything else to that street, so I'm not really sure why it is a city street. It dead ends in our parking lot. It's pretty much of a stub street. The city does own some property at the top of the hill to the north of us. I think that's, was that in their packet?
Yes.
Yeah. So part of that property could be theoretically something with the other two pieces of land are open space, and certainly a right-of-way could be negotiated, I'm sure, with the church, although the city does own a piece of, or have access to a right-of-way just to the north of our, quote, driveway street. So, make a long story short, we deeded it to you, we don't know why, but we'd like it back. And the main reason we want it back is so that we can work with the city and create a sign that works for us and works for the city. So there you have it. If you have any questions, John and I, between the two of them, John might have something more to say.
I would like to add that the reason that we're asking for this really is that ODOT has our sign classified as an outdoor advertising sign, and I hear pretty regularly that ODOT is anti-outdoor advertising signs, and it's simply the sign designating where our church is located, but it is owned city property, and so if we have our property donated back to us, then we get out from under that set of regulations of ODOT, and then we would be dealing primarily with the city on putting in a new sign. And we think we would like to look at putting in an LED sign like the one that's similar to the one anyway that's in front of the cultural center, and where we can have messages changed on that sign without the having to go down and put stuff on it and take it down and that sort of thing. And incidentally, we have been for many years a tsunami shelter with equipment in the church in case any disaster like that should come along. We've been having equipment in the church for a long time to accommodate people that are seeking refuge like that. And we do a number of other community services in our church, which is all enumerated in the letter that I prepared requesting this. So anyway, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I might just add a little bit more to this picture before you ask some questions. So when they approached me on this and we began discussing it, one of the issues that we discussed was the property that the city owns to the north of this. We own 4 lots, 2 of which of those lots are zoned for residential development. And so the issue we discussed was how would the city be able to maintain access to that. Now, there is access on the north side, or on the east side of their property where we have a roadway that would eventually be extended to that. And then the only other access could be this, really, it's a drive approach. It's not really a road, it's a drive approach into their parking lot. So I discussed this with ODOT and discussed the idea of deeding this back to them, and it was deeded to us in 1961, or to actually the city of Ocean Lake in 1961. And I asked them if it was deeded back to the parish, but the city maintained an easement for a future right-of-way, would that satisfy the requirements of ODOT? And they said it would. And so I guess if you're so inclined to deed this back to them, then the recommendation that I would give on this is that we do so with an easement, so that in the future, if we need to develop a road to get to our property, we could do that.
Mr. Sprague?
In looking at the exhibits that you sent, it looks like behind the church, to the east of the church, coming from or past the ballparks there, that there was it's full of trees now, but there's a property extension, like a flag lot, that empties into that lot immediately north of the church. Now, is that lot the city's lot, or is that...
The long strip?
It's the funny-shaped lot just north of the church, the big lot.
There are two lots immediately to the north of the church property, and the one that I think you're talking about is an oddly shaped one that's immediately north of our main parking lot.
It's the big one,
and
yeah.
so that is owned by the city, and that is what Ron just referred to as being zoned for residential use.
So that
and the one immediately to the east of it is also zoned for residential use. And then there are two other lots to the east of those two that are in the open space program of the city.
So there is access to the east of the church to get to the city property. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
It would be an extension of Key.
That's the one that goes
Beside Ace Hardware.
behind Ace Hardware. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only concern.
And actually, we used to be able to drive through there, but the city, when they made the cul-de-sac, they put up a chain and dug a hole in the center of the road to keep people from going that direction. But it was like a one-track road, or one vehicle wide strip, because when I lived over on 28th and Reef, I used to use that back way to get to the highway occasionally during the summer when you couldn't go the other direction.
I thought I remembered driving up there once also. So as long as that access to that property is there, is it necessary to have that easement you were talking about?
Well, it's always a good idea to have a couple of accesses to a large development like this.
Okay.
Like this property could be. It keeps the options open for the city.
Yeah, I have no problem in deeding that over. That's just basically us vacating a street, which I think works well.
Right. One other thing I would clarify just a little for you, that 25th Street, as I call our driveway, dead ends at our property, and there's just a little notch between the end of that and where the city property corners right there. So there would need to be a further access easement across part of our property to be able to access that westerly end of that large city-owned lot there. So we could discuss that if need be.
Yeah.
But then this other unimproved driveway up to on the east of our property, between our property and the ballpark there, is a substandard street. It's probably 20 or 25 feet wide, and that would need to be extended. But of course, the city owns the ballpark property immediately to the east of that, so there would be a possibility there.
Okay.
For access that way, and that would be off of Highway 101, which would probably please ODOT better than more traffic accessing 101 through our existing driveway.
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, that was my thought also. If that property to the north of the church is developed, it makes more sense to direct that traffic to 22nd rather than directly onto 101.
Well, and another thing that I actually had forgotten to mention to Ron in our discussions about this is that right where our driveway comes into 101, there's a merging of traffic right there, and it can really be hazardous trying to get out of our driveway at times when, in the summer like this, when we have a lot of traffic passing by and cars merging there, heading north, and it really can be a little tricky.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking for a motion. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we hearing? Oh,
Essentially, what you're saying is that you need to have, this needs to be a public hearing on this in order for the city council to enact any kind of an action. Is that correct? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, the reason we brought it before you in this way is that we wanted to find out your feelings about this, and so really the motion that we're asking tonight, if you want to proceed forward, is to instruct the staff to work with the parish to prepare all of the proper documents to deed this property, if that's what you so would like to do.
that's what we're after.
I would so move.
All right.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Is that sufficient, that motion we made? Okay. Discussion? No? I guess a roll call on this one?
Norikis,
Yes.
Yes?
Sprague, excuse me, let's see, Walke,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
and Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you very much. I'll take it. Oh, okay, thanks.
Appointment agreement, municipal court judge.
It has been some time since our judge has had his contract renewed, so we're presenting to you tonight a renewal of his contract. The terms and so forth are written into the in your staff report. I might add one thing, that the contract can be amended through a written addendum in the future if you so desire. We had talked in the past about evaluating the judge's performance. I have included in your packet an evaluation form. I would suggest that you proceed in the same way you did with my own evaluation, and that's that you conduct that in 6 months after you've had an opportunity to work with this evaluation form, and that you also ask the judge through his clerk to provide you with periodic reports and statistics about the court so you can adequately evaluate it.
Guys, I'm going to ask, as you're leaving, to kind of keep the motion to a minimum. Thanks so much. All right, what's the will of the council on this?
I agree with the recommendations of the city manager. Do we need a motion for you to proceed?
Motion to approve the contract if you so desire.
Pardon me?
A motion to approve the contract if you so desire.
So is the evaluation form part of the contract?
No, it's an evaluation form that we would use. Realistic, the contract requires us to bring it to present it to the judge within 3 months prior to when his evaluation would be. So there is time to modify that if you would like.
So we had a motion?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what you just said.
The motion is to approve the contract.
Right.
The evaluation form is part of your packet, but it is not a part of the contract. The contract requires that 3 months prior to the judge's evaluation, you would give him the evaluation form that you would be using to judge him. And so if there's work that you would still like to do with the evaluation form, there's time to do that.
I'm curious why we would be approving the contract before we did an evaluation.
That's the same procedure that you used with my contract. I believe it's the same procedure used with Mr. Apicello's contract.
Okay, well, if that's our procedure, then I would so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would add to that motion that we also require the judge, through his clerk, to provide us with periodic reports and statistics about the court.
I would agree with that amendment.
I would, too.
Thank you.
Do we get to mold and shape that report as we go, or is there something, or ask them to give us broad?
We are receiving that report from his courtroom, if you will, and I don't believe that it would be our job to mold it, no. I think we would look at it and judge it.
All right, I just wanted to give them direction. Okay, so we had a modified motion and a second to the modified motion.
Motion.
No, we didn't.
Kathy, did you get the motion altogether? Okay.
Okay, and then the second for the modified motion. Okay, real good. Do we need a roll call on this one?
No.
No? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we are now at medical marijuana dispensaries to conduct early start recreational marijuana sales to the general public, and Chief Killian has a...
Mayor Williams, excuse me, but we do need a roll call on that last one. It's spending money.
You. Roll call, please.
Norikis?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sprague?
Yes.
Key?
Yes.
Ward? And Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And you're cutting out a little bit, too.
It's just because I wasn't eating it.
Killian, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Currently, as you know, Measure 91 passed last November of 2014, allowing recreational sales of marijuana. The governor currently, or just recently, signed Senate Bill 460, which allows for current medical marijuana dispensaries to sell to the general public, those people being over 21 years of age, amounts of marijuana less than 1/4 ounce or 4 juvenile or immature plants. This would be effective October 1 of 2015. The bill also provides provision for counties and municipalities to have an ordinance to prohibit this. So the question that I'm posing to the council today, or this evening, is should the city of Lincoln City draft an ordinance to prohibit current medical marijuana dispensaries to participate in what the state calls the early start recreational sales? My concern is, first of all, OLCC, or the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, is the body that is tasked with governing, creating rules and regulations for the recreational marijuana sales. They have not done that as yet. We don't know what those rules and regulations are going to look like. They haven't even begun the licensing process for the growers, the wholesalers, let alone the retailers. That's last on their list. They're anticipating having something in place as late as fall of 2016. So the work is currently being done with subcommittees to define what those rules and regulations are going to be for the sales of recreational marijuana. The bill that allows for the early start process is not with the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, is with the Oregon Health Authority, who's the governing body for the marijuana dispensaries. The bill, which I attached to your memo, Senate Bill 460, tasks the Oregon Health Authority to set forth the rules and regulations for medical marijuana dispensaries to allow for these early start sales. They have, as of this writing, I don't know what those rules are going to be, and to allow early sales to begin in October of 2015 without knowing what the rules of the game are going to be, I don't think is in the best public interest. There's only a limited amount of time between now and October 1st for an ordinance to be drafted and passed, if that's the council's desire. I'm also concerned about the mechanism in which medical marijuana dispensaries are supplied is by a transfer allowed by a medical marijuana patient of a grower or supplier to give to the dispensary basically the medicine that they need, and then a patient, a licensed patient, can go to the dispensary to get those items at a cost to reimburse the dispensary for providing that service. To allow for open sales is totally contradictory for the way those dispensaries were set up to begin with. Also, on a public safety front, by current federal laws, these sales would be a cash-only business. The dispensaries cannot bank or take to a banking institution the monies that they profit from this, which makes it a very cash cow in some of these businesses that I am concerned about potential criminal actions taking place at these dispensaries with this large amount of cash and nowhere to bank it. Again, I'm sure OLCC will come up with some rules and regulations, but we don't know what those are going to be as yet. So basically, for the interest of public safety and in direct contradiction of the way the medical marijuana dispensaries are supplied, I would recommend to the council not to allow this early start program.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
While I'm not opposed to the sales of marijuana for recreational use, I think that I do agree with Chief Killian. There are just too doggone many unknowns in this early start program. And the fact that we couldn't collect the taxes on it anyway. I have to say that I'd be willing to direct staff to adopt an ordinance to prohibit the early start of recreational sales of marijuana by currently approved medical marijuana dispensaries. And that was a motion.
Second.
I'm just concerned that we're right into a motion right now. We haven't even, I guess we can include you in our discussion if that's questions to boot. So we have a motion, a second. You're first.
When we approved the medical marijuana dispensaries, I didn't think that it was contemplated at all that the recreational sales would ever become a part of that. That's one of the reasons why I will vote to make sure that we don't allow recreational marijuana to be sold in medical marijuana dispensaries. There are a number of other reasons. I think the fact that what Chief Killian said about not being able to bank large amounts of money, which would come from the sale of marijuana, would create some real problems with the law enforcement. I had another reason and I just forgot it. Anyway, I just don't think, the other reason is that even today, the marijuana laws that have been passed in the state aren't necessarily the same as the federal law in the way in which marijuana is handled. And so there are just too many discrepancies back and forth, and I think at this point we need to support this motion to deny early start recreational marijuana in medical dispensaries.
This is a little bit non sequitur, but I haven't kept up with the marijuana thing. I'm curious why medical marijuana isn't dispensed at the pharmacies. I just don't know. Can you tell me why?
I don't know either.
Okay. Does anyone know why?
I remember having that discussion when it came past planning, and I asked that very question. It seemed like the dirty joke of the city. You know, we're tee-heening about medical marijuana and treating it like it's a tavern rather than a legitimate medical supply, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Pharmaceutical.
Thank you, pharmaceutical. You know, why do I not get to go down to my local pharmacy and get it? And this isn't a question for you, obviously. It's just a general discussion point. And there was no clear answer. No one could tell me. It's one of those frustrating parts of this discussion for me. That, again, it seems like a bad joke. That if it's a legitimate medical pharmaceutical, it should be treated as such.
And I could be mistaken, but I believe it may have to do with the federal guidelines and the pharmacists
And they
being
can't have it on
DEA
there. Right.
regulations.
But that's coming at some point.
Sure.
Did that satisfy you?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I did. And I'm going to jump in on what Kip did, because I've got a kind of a question off subject, since I have you here. Have you heard of any resolution to the hospitals handling this when they bring a patient in who's, say, unconscious and has the marijuana on them? Now, the last discussion I heard is they couldn't admit them because they can't touch it and you can't come get it because it's legal. What do they do with that now?
I haven't heard that discussion at all.
Because I know they can handle a gun, and they have a place to deposit that. But they've basically, what I had heard from the Ogden was, we can't admit them while it's on them. So another one of those reasons we don't really need it right now. Okay, and then question from a law enforcement standpoint. We've got a couple of states now that have had this legalized for a little while: Colorado, Washington, and
That's it. Yep.
What's the word? What's the experience? How's this?
Well, this part is different because they established their retail sales.
Right. I guess I'm asking more for consumption standpoint and any trouble. Are we seeing an uptick in the DUI or?
There's been a tremendous increase in marijuana-related driving while intoxicated, both in Colorado and Washington. Mm-hmm. When Washington, I don't know about Colorado, but specifically in the state of Washington, when retail sales first came about, there was not enough supply for the demand, so the prices were 3, 4, 5 times higher than the black market sales. So there have been some issues. Again, from a public safety standpoint, my biggest concern is the increased amount of driving while intoxicated with the introduction of marijuana.
And how close are you getting to having a standardized system to test that? Say like
I don't know how close
breathalyzer, or, besides that, I know that Officer Escalante is very skilled at the visual cues and things like that, but is there a chemical test yet for that?
Not that I'm aware of. The only test I'm aware of is by blood.
Okay. And have we decided what too much is?
Right. I think that's still the discussion. I know Washington, it's 5 nanograms.
Okay.
But again, it's administered by a blood test. So you don't have, it's not like the intoxilizer to where you blow into it and you have a defined number right there on the spot. It has to go to a laboratory and then come back. But I don't know what Oregon's going to use for their threshold for presumptive under the influence.
Yeah, I remember sitting at an OLCC meeting and the fellow said, this probably sounded like a real good idea at the kitchen table when this was first brought up, but implementing this is just getting to be a nightmare. And I got to say, I'm not at all in favor of giving anyone else another reason to get loaded in our city. So that's my stance.
Mr. Mayor, I think we're off track a little bit for
We are,
this,
and
for this ordinance.
said
I
so.
think we need to deal
I was very clear that I was off subject. So anyway, we had a motion second with the discussion. Any further? Okay, so then we need a vote, I guess, straight up and down. Okay, favor say, and the yes is to,
Bring back an ordinance.
against it.
against it, thank you. Okay, so all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay? Opposed, rather, excuse me? So moved, or motion carried.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, appreciate it. All right. Report to council on public event transportation system plan.
Nope, speak.
This is what I got, number 9. Report to council on public event transportation system plan.
There was no staff report for
No?
that item. I'm just going to give you guys a verbal
All right.
update tonight, a brief update on our transportation system plan and what we can expect in the next couple of months. So city staff, ODOT, and our consultants, DKS, have been working on the plan for the past 3 years, and we're nearing completion. The 2015 Transportation System Plan will prepare the city for accommodating traffic within the urban growth boundary in the best manner possible through 2035. So it's a 20-year plan. The goal is to guide the city in developing and maintaining an acceptable transportation network. And also, with the adoption of a plan like this, it puts us in a better position for grant funding, competing with grant funding. So it's pretty important, and it's been, like I said, a 3-year project. We held our 3rd public event on August 9th, and that's what I want to give you a little more detail on. That was a Sunday. We had an open house. We had a booth at the farmer's market. And the event was very well attended. A lot of people stopped by our booth, more than any of the other public events we'd held, the other 2 we've held. We estimated about 45 to 50 people gave us comments. Not everyone signed in, so we had about 35 people that signed in, and I think there was at least 15 that didn't. We provided posters on display, handouts. The materials were also made available and still are available on our website. It's real easy to find. The main questions we asked those in attendance were to identify their favorite projects and look at our top priority projects and see what they felt about those priorities. So generally, most people agreed on the top priority projects that we presented. There were some in favor of different priorities. Some wanted some of the priority 2s to come up to 1, and also 1s go down to 2s. But for the most part, there was a lot of concurrence, a lot of real thoughtful discussion and comments, and it was, I thought of any event, our goal was to get as much from the public as we could, and I feel like we certainly did that. So I'm going to highlight some of the comments we heard over and over, and just to give you some food for thought as we move forward into the final adoption phases. There were a lot of comments on transit service hours, the link, expanding the hours, the days of service, as well as some people are interested in expanding to East Devils Lake Road too, because a lot of people live on East Devils Lake Road as well. And so we also had a list of other transit projects, and one was a trolley feasibility study. That was very mixed. Some were really in favor, some were very opposed. That probably brought out the most opinionated comments. Again, this has been a theme we've heard over and over again, but improving the pedestrian crossings on Highway 101 is very important to the public, and overwhelmingly high on people's priority list. We heard if you did anything, please improve the pedestrian accesses and the crossings on 101 and the safety in general. Everyone, again, this was a pretty common theme. People felt that the rapid flashing beacons added very much to the safety of crossing, and they wanted the flashing beacons placed any place we already had crossings but didn't have the beacons, such as South 3rd Street. There were also lots of comments about Ocean Lake. Not everyone agreed on the solution, but everyone agrees on some problems that they don't feel that they want to live with. Left turns, congestion, pedestrian crossing, pedestrian safety, and just overall visibility when you're traveling to be able to see those pedestrians in those crossings. The other theme was improved off-street parking, more off-street parking, better signage to show where the off-street parking is so people don't feel like they have to only park on 101. And again, another overwhelming comment was traffic calming. People in their neighborhoods feel that in their neighborhoods that there's a lot of speeding, and any projects we can do to reduce speeds or calm the traffic and improve safety for people other than vehicles using the road was a common theme. So we asked them to also identify their top 3 favorite projects, and they did that. There were 40, so total, when we asked that, we got 30 projects identified as their top. We have 40, so most of those 30 were within our 40. There's a couple variations, but for the most part, congruency. And so the next steps for you guys to know is on September 4th, we'll have a final version posted to the website. We're going to call this the final, although certainly we can incorporate changes and comments during the Planning Commission's meeting and during the City Council's adoption meeting. But for the most part, we're going to call it final. What we're going to do is incorporate the comments that we've heard at our open houses, at the project advisory team, the joint workshop we held with council and at the Planning Commission, as well as the website is still available for posting comments. We still get comments posted on that. We just got one today. And we also have received letters from organizations kind of spelling out, their collective thoughts. So trying to incorporate all that into a final version, we hope to have that completed on September 4th. Then, on September 15th, we're going to bring the plan to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will make recommendation to the City Council. And so the final plan and the recommendation from the Planning Commission is scheduled to come to the City Council on October 12th. At that time, with the staff report, when we bring the final plan, we'll have a memo that summarizes all of the comments. So you can see the public comments, where they came from, and how we incorporated them into the final plan. So with that, I just again wanted to keep you posted, keep you and give you a feedback on our real successful public event. That's it. If you have any questions.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
At any point in this discussion, does ODOT have to sign off on this thing?
Yes. ODOT, ODOT does. And, I'm not sure, Mr. Sprague. I'm not sure what... We've had a member of ODOT, and they've been on the advisory committee throughout. So it isn't like we're going to submit it to them as we had in the past, and then they review it and give us comments. But I need to check on that process, and when that final approval from ODOT comes, I would hope it would come before it comes to you. So,
Me too.
yeah, let me check on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And now, presentation on this paving program update for 2016 through 2019.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we're developing the street paving plan for the next 5 years, and our available budget is $400,000 to $500,000 per year, and that will maintain approximately 55 miles of streets based on a 20-year cycle. And we estimated yearly paving amount of about $400,000. So, and this amount does not include the transportation system plan capital projects that Stephanie was just talking about in that plan, but it does do our street preservation planning. And so the projects, I have a list of projects on the memo, and then I have a PowerPoint of really just showing you in general, you know, what our areas are and how we grade our streets and those types of items. So the PowerPoint isn't real clear because there's a lot of information on them, but I'll go through that in just a moment. So we do have Northeast Surf Avenue and 22nd, which is just finishing. And then we have the intersection improvements also at 22nd and Highway 101 and the crossing, new crosswalk at the Kirch's Ball Field. And you approved the Northwest Harbor Avenue improvements, and so those will be starting in right after Labor Day. And then we also have the Southwest Coast from Canyon Park to Bard Road. That's about a mile. And that project, we're estimating at $325,000, and that includes quite a bit of pedestrian improvement. We have a 4-foot asphalt area that we're paving outside of the paving lane to give people a place to walk and get off of the road. It's really constrained, and so some of those areas are a little bit difficult. And then we also have a street in Rhodes End, which is a very long area, and I'll show that on the map. It's Northeast 61st Street from Logan Road all the way around the corner and up the hill to Port. So this is a version of our overlay plan for 2015, showing those streets that I just mentioned. And so those are in red. And this is really more of an overview map. So I know I don't have the streets named or anything, but it takes us through 2020. And as we look at these streets closer, find out exactly what we need to do on the road beds and improvement. Most of it's just paving, but we run our overlay streets through the Sustainability Committee, and so we're always looking at pedestrian improvements. We're going to be looking at parking areas that we can designate as on-street parking, and so those are other items that we'll be looking at. And then this map is showing the streets by overlay year from 1983 through 2012. And so this is how we keep track of the streets that have been paved. And some streets have a 20-year life, some streets don't, depending on road cuts and road base and things like that. We try and always look at the best possible reconstruction of streets. But some of them just don't last as long. And then this is our street condition report, and so we update this. That'll be part of this plan when we go through and pick out the different streets. Just because a street's in a certain year doesn't mean that it can't be moved up, depending on the cost. So once we get closer with our engineers' estimates and design, we'll, be able to add or subtract streets.
Lila? So when we're looking at, for example, Southwest Coast from Canyon Park to Bard Road, those streets started out as a path and went to a donkey trail to a couple of Model A's, and now we have a lot of traffic on them.
Yes.
When you're redoing it, are you going to attempt to make the streets more usable, wider?
Actually, on that one, we won't be widening the street except for the pedestrian area, but we will be grinding out and making the berms that are kind of encroaching. That'll all be smoothed out because those have actually been done as houses have gone in and driveways have been built. And so those will be, there will be improvements, but we're not widening it. We're going to widen a 4-foot path for pedestrians, but the travel lanes will remain the same.
Yeah, they're really packed during the weekends.
I know they are, and that's
Well,
part
you
of the
live
reason.
up there, out
Yes,
close to it,
yes.
so, yeah.
And we've actually been working on that street for the last 2 years. We've, replaced every water service, and so that's why the street's so cut up, because we've been intentionally cutting that street up and trying to make sure that when we overlay it, we're not going back and having to redo a lot of, or cut into the new asphalt. And so we look at the sewer line, we look at the water services, we did a Southwest Coast pump station upgrade just north of Bard Road Loop, and so we did a new force main along that section, so there's a cut there for that. And so it'll be a nice improvement. When it's done, it'll feel wider, even though we're really not widening it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I noticed that northeast 6th, after you go past the entrance to the state park, you go around the bend, that highway is, the road is separating and it's sinking on the right side, and I don't see that in this list, and I'm wondering, at what time are we going to lose that?
Actually, that is on my list, and that street will be, we've been looking at that to make sure it's not a culvert. There isn't a culvert under that street. I thought maybe a culvert was failing because of the city property off of Northeast 10th and Northeast 6th, where the old wastewater plant used to be years ago. It looked like it was a drainage basin, and it doesn't really drain that direction. So the street is just failing there. So what we'll do when we overlay that is dig that part of the street up and rebuild it.
Oh, okay.
So during overlay projects, if there are things that really need to be repaired or, brought up, we will look at all of those.
Is that something?
And I actually could do that one beforehand and patch it.
Is that going to be done in the next 5 years, for instance?
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you.
And my next slide is the Roads End street condition map, and because Roads End was recently annexed in, it's not on my 2012 report, street condition report, and so most of their streets, we did the gravel street improvements, and that was about $75,000. We went in and essentially rebuilt those gravel roads and added 4 inches of gravel, compacted it, did some drainage improvement there. All of the streets that you see in red are in poor condition because they were never really maintained. The property owners would get together and try and patch them and keep them up. So all of those are in poor condition. We will be doing I'll try and point this out. I don't think it comes through very well, but 61st Street, this is the one on the previous map, so we're going to be doing that section in this year's budget. And then we'll be looking at the other streets, which ones are, come up the highest on our list. So I'll be able to incorporate those into the years that we have planned up to 2020. And so our budget covers this. You can see Ron Tierney's report. And it covers us for the next 5 years at $500,000 per fiscal year. And so that is about the amount to keep us in line for a 20-year overlay program. And what we'll have to be looking at in the future is how we fund some of these transportation system plans. Quite a few of the transportation system plans like Harbor are in our overlay budget already. And so those are moving forward, but I know they have so many other projects, and there's other funding sources for some of those things, like improvements to the link, and that's a little bit more detailed report we can bring back to you in the future. But that is our plan. You've already seen some of these. So the coast overlay, we have letters out to all the property owners there with a drawing of what it's going to look like in front of their property, since we're adding that 4-foot path. And so we've had actually really good feedback. Most of them are very happy to see some pedestrian ways and areas for people to get out of the roadway and walk off the side of the road there. So it's not the perfect situation, but it will be a much improved area for safety for pedestrians. So that's it.
Thank you. If I could ask a question, and it's not in your department at all, but you would know. Can you give us just a brief update on East Devils Lake? Do you have any information on that?
Yes. They actually are in the paving phase. They paved it, I think, today. And so they paved it today. They're putting up the guardrail on both sides of the culvert area. And so it should be open, I think, later this week. And Stephanie had updated reports. Is that correct?
Yes.
Later this week.
We don't want to commit yet to opening it back up, but it looks like it'll be ahead of schedule. Yeah.
Great. I went out and visited, and they're doing a great job.
They did a really good job. Yeah.
Actually, I guess I wasn't quite finished yet. I have one more slide.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I stopped a little too soon. Well, thank you.
See here, do you need
So this is our asphalt patching program that I have, we've received bids on, and those will be at your next council meeting for approval. And so these are all kinds of different cuts. And some of them are also intersections in Road's End. We did the gravel streets, but some of the areas right at the top of the hill to the east of Logan Road, to the very east, are really in bad, they're dangerous as far as trying to make those corners and spinning out in the gravel. And so we're paving quite a few of those in this patching program. And we also have, you can see it's a pretty long list. So the bids came in, I think the lowest bid is about $60,000. So that will be coming back to you, and we'll be doing this paving in the near future, patch repair.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Can we have those slides that you have shown us tonight emailed to us?
Certainly.
I'd like to have those.
You'd be able to see them a little bit better.
It's pretty hard to see it from here.
Yeah, it was more of for this meeting, it was kind of a generalization, but.
Sure. Well, that would help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
I have a question, Lila, on Saldusy in the resident area.
Yes.
Is there, that is a long street, number one. It's washboard best at times, and it's quite narrow. But as things proceed out there, is that part of any road improvements on it? Would that be part of the whole development of that area, the contractors?
It would be, and we did do that gravel update to it, and we put in a couple of culverts to help improve it. And right now, we're doing some survey work for locating a pump station there. And with that, we might be able to do some other road widening.
Yeah.
But we are paying attention to that road. I know it's really a difficult road to travel. And I had some residents concerned about how, in the future when the sewer lines go in, how that project's going to be managed.
Right.
So it's out there a couple years yet, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sure.
Lila, on the second page of Mr. Tierney's tables, I noticed that in the middle of the page, or the middle of the table, uses of funds, second line down, street overlay projects, we've got nothing scheduled after 2015-16. Is that due to a lack of funds?
That was a special transfer that council had made during the budget meetings. And so, that'll be something that you can look at the next budget year. But we have, we are showing the street overlay projects on use of funds, at the 500,000 for each.
Pardon me, I misspoke. I'm looking at the third line, sidewalks, storm, street projects.
Yes, those would be incorporated up into that 500. And so we just haven't broken them down, but we do include improvements to sidewalks. So it just depends on how that project lays out. If it's more of an overlay or if it's more a pedestrian improvement, then we'll break those out later.
Okay.
But the amount budgeted for each year is the 500,000.
Right. And at the bottom of that table, ending fund balance, and this is capital fund 211, we go from $750,000 in 2014-15 down to $173,800 2019-20.
Correct. And those are projections as the TRT changes, and different things change. Those numbers will change as well. But that is starting to, we're starting to lose our momentum in 2020
and
with that funding, as far as we can project right now.
Yes. And is that going to require at some point another source of revenue?
Yes, and I think if we look out probably 2 years from this point, if we need to look at that more seriously, we can do that. So.
Thank you. And on a different, similar subject, different issue, is it regarding the project at Northwest 15th and the ramp that goes down to the beach?
Yes.
I had a person who lives on Northwest 15th suggest a rumble strip at the top of that ramp in order to deposit sand on the ramp instead of depositing it in the street?
Yes, actually, our street supervisor is going to do some berms, and actually, we're going to start at the bottom.
Good.
And try and get the sand off at the bottom, because it makes its way all the way up to 14th and 101.
Yes.
By the time the sand comes off of the wheels, and so, we're up there sweeping it off the highway, and we get complaints from business owners that sand's blowing in their business. And so that one's on the top of our list as well. So we have some designs in mind for that improvement.
Great. Thank you.
Good. Is that it? Okay. We're at the chair. We are at now the street paving, construction contract award, water main replacement, highway fleet to Coast Avenue.
Okay, so this is a project that we designed and put out for bid. It replaces, it begins about where the last large water project ends, where we came to you for replacing that line from Cutler City to Taft. And there's also a section in Highway 101, about 1,700 feet from South Coast to South Fleet, that needs to be replaced as well. It's an old, leaky 10-inch steel line. It has a history of breaks. And so the replacement water main will be a 12-inch diameter. It'll increase the flow rate a little bit. We will also replace water services that are on that 10-inch right now. We'll convert those all to the new 12-inch. a lot of the businesses along that section of 101, they have, those service mains are old and leaking. So we'll do that, as well as replace that 1,700 feet of line. Most of it is located in the center turn lane. There won't any work that restricts lanes will be done at night, including, we'll have some crossings, as I said, to replace those service lines. But that's the project. We received 3 bids, and the low bid was from Caney Excavating, Inc., for $462,686. The second low bidder was Lasky Clifton Corp. They're from Reedsport. Their bid amount is $496,838.20. And then Enterprises Northwest, doing business as Earthworks Excavation, the contractor who did receive the bid for the other water line I referred to, is $505,720.60. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Caney Excavating, Inc., in the amount of $462,686. So this was another project, unfortunately, that the budgeted amount did not account for the restoration costs in Highway 101. And that's the primary reason why the budget was $240,000. By the time we did the design, the engineer's estimate was, we realized it was more than $260,000. But at any rate, the additional...
Pardon me, Stephanie, there were also improvements to the park as well, unanticipated, wasn't there?
Yes, on the last project. This one was really just the restoration cost for the road, for the highway.
Okay.
That was just the primary difference in what we had assumed during the budget number development. We have to match the depth of asphalt and a large area, and so it's a lot of asphalt. I mean, the road will be very nice when we're done, but anyway, that's ODOT's call, and we are going to meet with them, the pre-construction meeting, and see if there's any way we can come up with something that'll still maintain the road integrity and allow us a little bit of relief from that, but I wouldn't count on it. So the additional funds for this project, if approved, will come from an interfund loan from the unbonded assessment fund in the amount of $292,406.12. And this would result in postponing any future local improvement district projects until the amount is repaid. So the amount is scheduled to be paid, the amount would be paid back to this fund from future water revenues in the next 3 years. So the table following shows the actual the project cost to date and the project estimated cost to complete. Last year we did the design, and then this year we're asking for the construction services, $20,674. Our BOLI fees, the construction bid, half of 1% for art to the tune of $2,313.43, and then a construction contingency of 10%, $6,268, for a total estimated cost to complete of $532,406.12. Okay, so the construction services, when I described the budget number versus the additional money we need in the unbonded assessment fund, that totals $508,954. So to complete this project, we're recommending that the council is would award the construction contract to K&E Excavating in the amount of $462,686 with a contingency of $46,268.
Mr. Mayor? To be clear, I was mistaken regarding that parking lot improvement, because this is not the project where that's happening. That was the project we discussed 2 weeks ago, was it not?
Right, but I thought, yeah, but I was referring to that as a similar mindset of how the budget number was developed, and then we had some unanticipated costs. But yes, this project will just be the 101 improvement. It won't include anything else.
So I was mistaken in referencing the parking lot improvement.
Yes, I misunderstood you too, why you referenced it, but yes.
All right. Well, I would move that we direct staff to award the construction contract to K&E Excavating in the amount of $462,686 with a construction contingency of $46,268, which is a 10% contingency of the bid amount.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
It seems like a amount to underbid it or to overbid it, whatever. Common, is that fairly common?
Well, we certainly don't like to we don't like our budget number to be so far under the actual amount of the project. Like I said, it does happen, and we will certainly take into account these changes in ODOT's restoration requirements in the next budgeting for our future water projects or any future work in 101. I wouldn't say it's common, but it does happen.
Didn't we have similar? I'm so uneducated on this. I apologize. I thought during council meeting we had another project that was underbid significantly. Is my memory?
Yes, we had.
Well, if I can interrupt, I'm sorry. Do you mean underbid or less than the highest?
Underestimated. Thank you. I'm reckless with my words.
So, yes, we've had a couple projects before you now where our estimated budget numbers were lower than the actual project cost. And in each of those cases, I, again, tried to explain what our mindset was, where that budget number was based, how that was based, and what the difference is when we know when we do the engineer's estimate. I mean, none of these, so the thing is these bids are solid. The engineer's estimate was actually higher than any one of these three bids in this case. And then the other two projects as well, the other water project and the harbor. So, so the amount that we're at, that the project actually costs is a true amount. It's not like it's an overbid or we're in a bad environment where we're getting high bids for something we think should be less. But we certainly have underscoped our budget numbers of the last couple of projects we brought forward to you.
It seems to me it would be difficult come budget time, trying to figure these things out. That's all I have.
Yeah, we were working on.
I guess I was trying to figure out whether it's a pattern or just a phenomenon. Sometimes,
It's really, I wouldn't say it's a pattern, but it's definitely, these last few projects have been that case. And we're, like I said, we're adjusting our budget process a little bit to account for some of these costs that we should have been accounting for during the budgeting. We're learning from our mistakes, I guess.
Thanks.
Any further discussion or questions? All right, roll call, please.
Ward.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Norikis.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Sprague.
Yes.
And Walke.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we do truly appreciate it. I know it can be kind of tedious for you to just nod, but it's good information. I appreciate it very much. All right, we are now city manager, city attorney reports, discussion, council vacancy, city. I'm not hearing anything over here.
This one actually works.
Seats vacant?
So the process for city council vacancy is addressed in the charter. I've basically told you that the charter requires an appointment, but then leaves open the option to call for a special election.
If I might interrupt just for a moment, for the folks who haven't been following this from day one, can you tell them why we're talking about this in the first place?
Hey, I'm sorry. Your Honor, the Councilor Davis submitted his resignation, so that creates a vacancy for Ward 2. The charter provides a mechanism for filling the vacancy through appointment. The charter also allows the city council to call for a special election. The process is more complicated if we go to an election and will cause delay. However, it will cost more as well, but you can attempt to share the cost with other entities that are seeking ballot measures and that kind of thing. The appointment process in the past has been handled through an announcement, which indicates that we're accepting applications from those interested. They would submit what is basically our standard application form, and you would go through a process which is akin to the interview process for planning commissioners in our code. And again, I would recommend that you not delegate it to a subcommittee, but rather that the city council, if you choose to do an appointment, that you conduct the interviews. I've included an example of a public announcement which I adopted from the last time this happened. It's in your packet. You can modify it as you see fit. You can also ask staff to look into more detail what the estimated cost of putting this out in a special election would be. I would note that the normal deadlines for candidate filings, open in June, July, and close about now. So the November election's probably off the table.
That would leave us with a May option, right?
Yes, unless we're calling for some other alternative date, which I wouldn't recommend.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to have a motion to accept his resignation or not?
Well, that's a good question. I do not know that.
I believe in the past you have, by motion, accepted the resignation and declared the position vacant.
I think that's right.
I believe you have. So that would be an appropriate step. If you would like to do that, then you can decide if you'd like to fill it through the appointment process or have staff return with more information about the election process.
I would move that we accept Jim Davis's resignation, and I would also include with that motion that we go through the appointing process versus the election process.
Did we need an effective date on that? Or just as of today?
It's effective the date of his letter.
Yeah.
Or the receipt of his letter.
Motion, I don't have that date.
I don't actually have his letter in front of me, but you would declare the position vacant.
And if it was necessary to have that date in
Effective the date that we received his resignation letter. That was my motion.
We have a motion to accept the resignation of Councilor Jim Davis. Looking for a second.
Two-part. It was a two-part. They also called for the appointment process.
I think we're doing two different ones.
No?
Oh, you have the appointment?
I did.
Sorry.
It's 2 points.
I was reading while I was listening. Okay, so we have a motion for the accepting the resignation of Councilor Davis and the appointment.
Versus the election.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
While I don't have any problem accepting the resignation, I do have a problem with the appointment. Since this position that basically has 3 more years, I think we should, I think in all honesty, we should hold a special election, fill that vacancy. If it was less than a year, the appointment process would be fine, but with this long of a thing, I think that the citizens of Ward 2 need to vote on it.
I agree with that.
See, I counter that. If we have an election, we won't have a new counselor until sometime probably around June next year.
There are special elections before that time, I believe.
So there may be one in March, I'm not sure. Although the problem with March is that it might be just a special election that we have to pay for and not be able to share it with somebody else. And the election process is costly. That was another reason why I thought we should probably appoint. It gives the public an opportunity to apply, and there would be a public interview process during which it's very transparent.
Well, my concern, though, is that maybe people can apply, but do people get to vote? Do people get a chance to express their will in this? And that's always my biggest concern, that it's a long term. I got to agree with Councilor Ryan. If we were talking, when Councilor Coons passed, it was a short term and it was easy enough to appoint, but this is a long time to tell people, we're going to tell you how you're going to be represented in your ward, and I just think it goes counter to what we're trying to accomplish here. Mr. Ross, did you have some information about a special election that you might be able to share just briefly with us?
Mr. Mayor, I believe that we have a motion on the...
I know, but he might have a date that would...
I don't really care.
Good.
Because
I do, and I've called him up, so thank you so much. Thank you very much.
This is out of order.
I've asked for an input.
It's my understanding that there are 4 special elections a year. They generally happen January, March, June, and September, maybe November. So
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if May is the newest one. I think.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Also,
thank you. No, I'm going to cut you off there. Thank you very much. I just wanted some dates so I could make a decision. We didn't have them handy. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Madam Recorder, do you have any idea what the cost of a special election might be?
When I received information about 2 years ago, it was about $1,500 to $2,000 if it's only us that has for the election, if there's no other districts that have anything to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, they said, could be between $3,000 and $5,000. More likely, it would be about $3,500.
Mm-hmm. And do you have dates for potential special elections?
I checked with Dana Jenkins, and he did not, we could not make any for the fall, so I did not get those for the spring. And they've taken them off their website. We've been trying to, usually they have them posted, but they were not. So I'd have to get a hold of Dana.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
With a almost 3.5-year term left, I understand the desire to have an election. I just would like to avoid that cost and the delay. It will be some time with that position empty. I'd like to see it filled. People who are interested can apply, and we can have an open interview process. I would like to see it filled by appointment.
I agree. Excuse me. I agree with Susan Walke. That'll be 8 months with the position sitting empty. I enjoy a ballot, but in practicality, it's far better, I think, if we appoint.
Further discussion? Well, let's go ahead and have a roll call on this.
Williams?
No.
Norikis?
Yes.
Ryan?
No.
Sprague?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
And Ward?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Mayor Williams, I would like to ask for council's consideration on, we're trying to schedule some hearings for the planning department, and we need to know if, for the months of November and December for Thanksgiving and Christmas, whether or not council wishes to meet on those Mondays.
Which dates in particular?
November 23rd
Yeah.
and December 21st.
I have no major conflicts. Maybe December.
Is it a matter of conflicts?
I can.
Is it a matter of conflicts, or is it because it's so close to the holidays?
It's so close to the Monday before Thanksgiving and the Monday before Christmas is usually, council gets to decide whether or not we want to meet on those dates.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good in November, but not in December.
No problem with either date.
I'm fine with either date.
Oh, 14th and the 28th, is it? Of December? No.
Monday, the 23rd of November, and
28th of December.
Monday, the 21st of December.
Okay.
Christmas, the holidays on the 25th, or, I'm sorry, on Friday, the 25th.
Yeah, and Monday, that's not going to work for me, the December one, but that's just me.
Actually, the fourth Monday in December is the 28th.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's correct, the 28th, which is...
I'm okay with that.
I'm gone.
So we got one down, two down with Councilor Davis. No, I don't know, but anyone else for December, an issue?
So we're good for December 28th, and how about the Monday before Thanksgiving?
Fine with that.
That's fine.
Okay?
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, let's see, we finished the council vacancy. Other city manager?
Just a couple of more scheduling items. Just a reminder that next Monday, we are having a work meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. here in this room. And then also, we're trying to schedule a joint meeting with you and the Planning Commission to give a briefing on the Transportation Growth Management Grant Project to develop a neighborhood plan in the Nelscott Gap area. We're looking to see if you would be available on Thursday, October 1st at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. This did go before the Planning Commission, and they felt that was the best date for them.
I'm sorry, give me the date again?
Well, I'm seeing a couple of heads shaking, so let me give you three different dates that they were asking about. On the Thursday, October 1st, and they're looking at either at 6 p.m., or if that didn't work, at 3 p.m. Or they're looking at, or asking about Friday, October 2nd at 3, 4, or 6 p.m.
I'm gone, both of those days.
Thursday at 3 is okay, but at 6 it's not.
8, but not at 6.
So this is for a joint meeting?
With the planning
Need to
commission.
have a quorum for a quorum of each body for that?
It would be billed as a council meeting, so you would need a quorum.
So do we have 4 who would be there?
I guess I could.
I will not be there, so. 3 not. Because it could, so we need 4 if we're going to do it. 2. And
So for Thursday at 3 PM then? Is that what I'm understanding, October 1st? Okay, very good. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
City Attorney?
2 items. Under city attorney reports, you had an advertised executive session. One of the items advertised was real property negotiation, Taft Park. And in the prior action by council with regard to Taft Park, you authorized the city manager and city attorney to sign whatever documents were necessary to effectuate the transaction. As you know, you can take no action in executive session, and if you believe it's appropriate, at this time, you could take action. I'm looking for authority to spend money on an environmental assessment, which I do not believe was included in the prior authorization that you granted to the city manager and to myself. So I would ask that of authorization to spend up to $10,000, which would be my contract authority, to do an environmental assessment if necessary, and to pursue cost sharing of that. And this would be a roll call vote.
So moved.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I guess my question, I want to make sure I ask this correctly, is there, well, I guess we can't talk about negotiation too much. I'm just curious that I want to make sure that we're going to bear a cost here. That's a lot of money, and I want to make sure that it doesn't fall on the city if it comes back bad. And so I guess I would just encourage you, of course, you've said you're going to look for cost sharing, but yeah, I guess that's all I have to say on that. So roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry, was there any more? No, roll call, please.
Norikis?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sprague?
Yes?
Walke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Williams?
No.
Motion carries.
The second item was under council rules, which is also an advertised executive session item. Council can decide to have your in-house counsel perform certain tasks, or you can contract out to independent legal counsel. You had an executive session on council rules, and council rules govern the conduct of, they're contained in city resolutions, ordinances, and the charter, and they govern the conduct of the city council. Again, you can take no action in executive session, and if you think it's appropriate to do so, this would be the time where you could take an action. Again, this would involve spending money, and in this particular issue, if you do proceed, the mayor would have a conflict of interest, and my recommendation would be that he not participate.
I would move to authorize the council president to execute a contract for investigation and prosecution services to examine the mayor's conduct relative to the city charter, ordinance, and rules, and present such to the city council.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. I haven't even recused myself. So I'm not sure exactly what it is I'm recusing myself from. I can't exactly talk to it because I wasn't there. But again, we're going down this rabbit trail here. I guess I'll recuse myself, turn this meeting over to Council President Sprague, and you can start it all over again.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there discussion? Hearing none. A second, thank you. Roll call, please.
Norikis?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sprague?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we're back to me. Thanks so much. Okay, reports from standing committees, none. Additional comments from citizens present on non-agenda items.
Jim Hoover, 3150 East Devils Lake Road, own property in the city of Lincoln City, also have a business in the city of Lincoln City. Mayor, members of the city council, it's really hard to talk about these following two issues without it being pointed, so I'll recognize that up front. On your agenda tonight, you have special orders of business, you have resolutions, and you have ordinances, and then at the very bottom you have a city manager, city attorney report. It says discussion of council vacancy. And it feels really disingenuous, whether it was intentional or unintentional, to put out an agenda to the public on an item as important as a vacancy in a ward where people typically elect their city councilman, stick it under a discussion topic, pass an ordinance so that you can appoint somebody that may or may not agree with the people of the ward, but may or may agree with you as counselors. You do get a chance to interview them, but you also get a chance to vote. So it's going to be voted on by 6 people, not by the people of the ward. And so shame on you. I don't know how to put it any other way. But I'm also really interested, I had a chance to do a little more reading, so this is for the benefit of the people who are watching on TV who might be listening to this. Mr. Noriakis did a very elegant job of reading the title of the first reading, amending the municipal code, about general provisions, ordinance enforcement, and civil infractions. What that summary didn't say is that we're wiping out an entire section of or entire chapter of the code. I believe it's 1.20. And in the process of doing that, we're actually creating more powers for the city of Lincoln City and less powers for the individuals in Lincoln City, because nowhere in that reading did it say that we were going to deny a previous ability of a citizen to write a citation for something that was in violation of an ordinance. Nowhere in that general reading did it say that we're going to go from having about 5 people authorized to enforce ordinances to pretty much every person in the city who holds a title or is appointed by the city manager, department heads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And nowhere in that does it say, in that reading, did it say that we're going to authorize these individuals to enter a vacant premise for the purpose of enforcing a municipal code or otherwise. Now, I'm familiar with who can go into a premise. A building official who's authorized by the state of Oregon. That building official can go in there if there's a public safety violation, or a utility company can go in if there's a public safety hazard. But to authorize in this first reading, and possibly a second reading the next time, a city employee who holds a office in the city to go into a vacant building after giving reasonable, and there's no reason for reasonable to be defined, I guess, reasonable effort to notify the property owner, it seems like this goes far beyond just doing a little cleanup language, making a few things clear, and clarifying things per something that happened in 2014. So my issue tonight is with transparency. And you're right, you guys can sit up there as a city council, and 4 of you can vote to do anything you want to do, whether it's the democratic process that agrees with 51% of the voters, or whether you represent the silent minority, or whether you just downright think you know what's best. But we live in a country where people vote, and people vote for their elected leaders, and people vote through referendums and through initiatives on items and rules and laws that they choose to represent themselves. And to have something on the agenda tonight that doesn't even have a public hearing, that was represented simply as, I think I'll read it here exactly, a first reading, an ordinance amending the City Municipal Code Title I General Provisions, Chapter 1.20, Ordinance Enforcement, and Chapter 1.16, Civil Infractions. I don't think that really does justice to what people need to be informed about. And I would have loved to come up here tonight and start asking questions and see how many of you actually read the entire ordinance, understand what it changes, what it amends, and what it leaves out. So I don't know what else to say. Like I say, I hope a lot of people are watching on TV. I hope a lot of people talk to people after they watch on TV. And I hope the citizens of Lincoln City say, no, we believe there's a process for electing people, and 3 years left on a term is plenty of time. I don't see that there's a split city council up there where we're going 3-3 on issues. It looks like we have a city council that has a pretty strong majority on specific issues. And to worry about spending $3,500, a real pittance, in order to circumvent the democratic process of having their people elect their leaders, I think is an absolutely crazy and transparent indication of where this council is going with their decisions. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Mr. Smith?
Good evening, councilors. I wasn't going to say any... Pardon?
State your name, please.
Oh, Ross Smith.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything, but given that Jim said something, I'd like to reiterate what he spoke about. Another thing that the new ordinance 2015-10 does is it allows for all violations to be considered continuing violations. Now, what that means is any law, any code enforcement law can now be cited for a daily offense. So whatever it is, if you don't pay your transient room tax or you don't get a business license, those already have continuing violations. But everything, every ordinance now, every code can now be continuing violation, and that's very dangerous, and that's not, that's not in keeping with the Oregon state statutes. It also requires all defendants cited for continuing violations to be required to appear in court. The ORS statutes only require appearance if someone is involved in a traffic accident involving serious physical injury or death. So we're saying that anybody who commits a code violation where we say it's a continuing violation has the equivalent of committing a serious physical injury or death, which is pretty amazing. It also allows the city attorney to enter the courtroom during civil proceedings if the judge allows. That's inconsistent with state law. It also disallows non-attorneys from representing defendants in court, which there's no equivalent in state law, and that's probably a violation of the 4th and 15th Amendment due process claims. Allows any code enforcement officer to enter an unoccupied building without first receiving permission of the owner. I couldn't find any equivalent in state law. There's other inconsistencies with state law. Our code, let's see. I mean, it's really confusing to me that now every Class A violation will be considered a Class B violation, but we're not changing all the code to say Class B. So it'll say Class A in the code, but it actually means a Class B violation, which is very confusing. I think that's it, and I think I got under my 5 minutes, so thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else care to speak? Hearing none. Announcements or comments by City Council?
Mr. Mayor, I passed out an informational sheet to each of you. It talked about, I think it was the City of Portland is now working with generating electricity through their gravity-fed water pipes to run pumps. This is something that John McKevitt brought up to the city when we were doing some discussions about water several years ago, and I thought it was a good idea then. I think it's a really good idea. I still maintain that it's a good idea, and I would like to investigate it. This happens to be on gravity fed, but if you're already pumping something through a line, I would assume that that would also work on that. The line, theoretically, of the electricity could go back to the pump that's actually pumping. So we might be able to cut some costs down. I don't know. It's an interesting concept, and I think it's well worth looking into.
Okay.
I thought so then. I think so now.
Anyone else?
Yes, please. regarding our decision to fill a vacant position on the council by appointment. The charter provides that the council shall fill the position by appointment. However, the charter also, allows for the option to call for a special election. Both processes have been used in the past.
Mayor, I have a comment. I would like us to think about presenting to the voters a change in the charter. Councilor Davis's resignation was due to the fact that he moved to another area of Lincoln City. And we are Lincoln City. We're not 3 separate towns. We're not 5 separate towns like we were 50 years ago. And I think it's time to let the voters decide whether we want to make councilors remain in their ward during their term of office.
All right, maybe, Mr. Apicello, could you speak to that just a little bit? What is the process if we wanted to offer that choice to the voters?
Well, we're going to have to pass an ordinance and then refer it. It's actually an amendment to the charter. So, we have deadlines, the election deadlines, and so it's going to be, stepping back from when the next deadline is. I believe Councilor Walke actually told me that, and she was correct because I checked it out, I think the deadline was like September 3rd or something to submit for that kind of a referendum. So
I'm thinking maybe the spring primary would be a good time to have it on.
I think if council is inclined to go that way, then you just need to make a motion to staff, direct city attorney and city manager to prepare an amendment to the charter and process it, and we'll work toward the next available deadline that we can get it on the ballot.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you, Susan. All of the reasons for having the wards are long gone, and we're a homogeneous town now, and it's much better, it would be much better if we got rid of that antiquated ward system. Ironically, the county needs, I don't know if it would be a ward system, but needs the equivalent of a ward system. Right now, all the power is in Newport, and if we did have a county-level ward system, then we would at least be guaranteed one representative as far as the county commissioners go. Non sequitur again.
So not concerned about
I'm just running. Mr. Mayor, I think that's a very good point. It used to be, in this county, you used to have 3 different districts, and you elected people from each of those districts so that those districts received representation. And I know Newport has the open, you don't have to go anywhere. I mean, you can live anywhere in the city, and it's the top 3 or 4 vote getters, or goat getters, I guess. No, vote getters that get the offices. I just don't think that to me, that's to me is tantamount to a disaster when you're just talking about the top vote getters getting the offices, and because you don't really, I mean, somebody down here could get 3% of the vote and be one of the top vote getters and get in. So I really like the ward system. I really wish that the council or the county had not just gone free range and left it alone. The ward system is, I agree with you that the ward system is an antiquated system, but it does make sure that, for instance, Susan and I, or Councilor Walke and I, we can concentrate on what's going on in Ward 1. So if there is something going on in Ward 1, that we can bring it to the council's attention. that doesn't mean that I can't support something in Ward 1 or Ward 2 or Ward 2 or Ward 3 and know what's going on in those wards, because I happen to work in Ward 3. So that's important to me, too. But really, I concentrate on what we need in Ward 1, and I will promote those kind of things. Things that we need in Ward 1 may be the same things we need in Ward 3. So I'm for the ward system, and I incidentally, as in the vote, the reasons that people have brought up in the discussion was the very reasons that I think that we should go. I know we've decided as a body to appoint, but I really wish that we had gone to the election process. I still think that's a better process.
I agree with you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Another reason for retaining the ward system is the cost of an election. The cost of the mayor's election was quite a bit higher than it was for any of the individual ward elections. And I just think that it shouldn't have to be that expensive to run for an office. And I also agree that there can be a concentration of people in one section of town get together and spend a heck of a lot more money than everybody else in town and win an election because of money rather than because of who the people are. So I support the ward system as well.
Wow. Thanks. Didn't want to get into a whole discussion about that tonight, but, it's a little disingenuous to say that because people spend money, people get to spend money because they believe in what they believe in. And
money buys elections.
It's very insulting for you to say that, especially the people who voted, I'll say for me, for my election. Not one of them ever turned in a receipt to me.
About your election, by the way.
Just saying in general, to me, it's offensive to say that someone's vote was bought. I don't care how much Mr. Trump might spend. I'll vote for him if I want to or not. If he wants to spend his money, spend his money. But it doesn't influence me. And I just find it very insulting when people say that. And you have your opinion, and that's fine. It's all good. I do want to say thank you to Mr. Davis for serving. I want to thank him for stepping forward. I want to thank him for his integrity. He could have tried to dance around this issue and come up with a way to pretend that he lived in his district when he doesn't, or his ward. But I thank him for stepping up and saying, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is what I got to do, and to give us this option, an option I'm not thrilled with, but there you go. That's what a majority vote gives you. I'll be at the Regional Airport Task Force meeting tomorrow at 2 at the Newport Airport. You probably read a little bit about that. Some exciting things coming from that, learning a lot about how to develop these kind of task forces. I'll be in Spirit Mountain the next couple of days at the Oregon Coast Economic Summit, sponsored by Senator Roblin. Looking forward to sharing some thoughts with some people there, maybe learning a little bit more. And then we also have we're still off in December for the League of Oregon Cities one. Other than that, if anyone has anything else, I want to say God bless you all. God bless Lincoln City. We're adjourned.